I gave up my whole American life for this place. And I want to tell you the things nobody tells you, because the videos will sell you the beach and the cheap rent, and they will leave out every single thing that actually matters. And I'll start with the one that undid me, the thing I was least prepared for, and it wasn't the heat or the money or the paperwork. Nobody tells you that you will grieve the life you left, even when you are certain you were right to leave it. Both things at once, all the time. I'm sitting on a porch 1,000 feet up a green mountain on an island in the Philippines, and if I turn my head a little, I can see the ocean going silver in the afternoon, and I am happier than I have ever been. And there are still Tuesdays when I ache for a cold, grey autumn afternoon in Ohio, so badly it takes my breath. Nobody tells you that. So let me back up, because nothing makes sense if I just drop you in the middle. My name's Ruth. I grew up outside Youngstown, Ohio, the kind of place where the mills left and the whole town just held its breath for 30 years. My mother took in laundry and cleaned houses for the families up on the hill, and came home with her hands cracked and red. I wasn't a good student, and I want to be honest about that, because people message me thinking you have to be somebody special to do what I did, and you don't. I spent 35 years cooking in a school cafeteria, up at 4 in the morning, feeding 400 children a day, and going home with my feet ruined and my back worse. I married Gene when I was 23. He worked at the water department, and he had this quiet way about him, and the first time he made me laugh so hard, I cried. I think I just decided right then. We had one girl, Susan, and the way our life worked never changed. I was up before dawn, he was on call half the nights, and we passed each other tired for about 3 decades. And there was this word that ran through our whole marriage, the word someday. Someday, Ruth, let's see a warm ocean, the kind with the blue water in the magazines. I used to clip pictures of beaches and keep them in a kitchen drawer, and Jean would tease me, planning a trip we'll never take. And I'd say, I'm keeping it ready. And I kept that dream ready, and he never got to spend it. Jean died at 63, and then there wasn't a someday anymore. I found those clippings when I cleaned out the house. There's one in there that looks exactly, and I mean exactly, like the coast I can see from this porch. I've stopped trying to explain it. After Jean passed, I went back to that cafeteria in 11 days because I didn't know what else to do with my hands, and I kept working, 62, 63, 64, and Susan was grown and out in Denver, and the house was enormous and silent, and I figured I'd work till my knees quit and taper off quiet in the Ohio cold. And then a woman I used to work with came back through town with this ridiculous February tan and told me she lived in the Philippines now, and she told me numbers. And she wasn't bragging. That's the thing. The good ones never sell you. And something happened in my chest I can only call the floor turning into a door. Now here's the second thing nobody tells you. They tell you the money is what stops people. It isn't. I had the numbers worked out in a paper notebook inside of a month, and they were almost insulting, they were so good. A whole house up in these hills for $400. A meal of fresh fish and rice for a couple of dollars. A helper 4 mornings a week for less than my old cable bill. The numbers were a green light. What stops you is the guilt, and nobody warns you how reasonable that voice sounds. It doesn't scream. It says sensible things in your own father's voice. A good mother stays. A good grandmother is around the corner, not 8,000 miles away. You're 64. Sit down, be grateful. I lived in that drawer for a year, and what nobody tells you, the thing I had to learn the hard way, is that guilt is not the same as being wrong. You can do the right thing and still feel guilty. Sometimes guilt is just the price of finally choosing yourself after a lifetime of choosing everybody else, and you have to be willing to pay it. What finally moved me was my daughter. I told her sideways, like a joke, "Your old mum's been looking at the Philippines," and I braced for the worried look. Instead, she got quiet and said, "Mum, when's the last time you sounded excited about anything?" And I didn't have an answer. And then she said the thing that broke me. She said, "I'd rather have a happy mum on a video call than a sad one down the street." So I got a passport at 64, never owned one in my life, held that blue book at the kitchen table like it was made of gold, the first document I'd ever had that wasn't a bill. Here's the third thing nobody tells you, the practical one that ruins people. As a foreigner, you cannot own land here, ever. It's written into their constitution. You can own the house, you can own a condo, but never the dirt underneath it. And I have watched foreigners pour their whole life savings into building a beautiful place on land in somebody else's name, and when it went bad, they learned you cannot take a house with you. So I rent, and I've rented for years, and I sleep just fine. The visa itself is the easy part here, thank God. They have a proper retirement visa, the SRUV, where at 50, with a pension over $800 a month, you park a refundable deposit in an accredited bank and pay a small yearly fee, and you can stay for good. No border runs. Now let me tell you the moment I knew. My scouting trip, the little airport, the heat, these motorcycle taxis they call tricycles buzzing everywhere like a swarm, and I'm jet-lagged and overwhelmed thinking, what have you done, Ruth? And we stop at a red light, and a little girl on the back of her father's motorbike, maybe 6, in her school uniform, looks over at this big, confused, grey American woman and just waves, this enormous grin, like she's known me her whole life. And her father laughs and waves too, at a stranger, at a red light, and something in my chest that had been locked since Jean died came loose. And here's the fourth thing nobody tells you, which is what having a helper actually means. There's a woman named Maribel who comes 4 mornings a week, and the videos make this sound like you snap your fingers and a maid appears, and it is nothing like that. Maribel's 42, lives down the road with her husband and 3 kids. The first morning I followed her around trying to help, grabbed the other end of the sheet, and she stopped and said, "Ma'am Ruth, this is my job. You are making it harder." And it hit me like a truck, because I watched my mother do that exact work for 30 years and come home with her hands cracked and red. And I felt this hot wave of shame, like I'd become one of the families up on the hill. So I made myself sit down, one of the hardest things I've done here. What turned it was this. I pay her well above the going rate and a bonus at Christmas, and when her youngest needed an operation on his ear, I covered it, and it cost me about 1 old cable bill, and that money is putting her oldest through nursing school. I'm not a lady up on the hill looking down. I'm a woman who knows exactly what that work is worth, because my mother did it, and I did it, and I'm finally in a position to pay it right. My whole month, everything in, lands around $1,000, and my Social Security covers it with room to spare. Now the hard parts, straight, because anybody who tells you it's all mango trees is selling you something. The heat in April sits on you like a wet blanket. The rainy season floods the roads, and the power goes out, and you sit in the dark and sweat. The paperwork will test your soul, and there are typhoons. And my second year a big one came through, and the wind came up the valley in the night, sounding like a freight train that never passed. And I sat in the dark, listening to the mango tree groan, thinking, what have you done, you old fool? You're alone on a mountain on the far side of the earth. That's real, and I won't sand it down for you. But you know what happened the next morning? Before I'd even sorted myself out, there was a knock, and it was Maribel's husband and 2 neighbor boys, soaked to the bone, come up the road to clear my gate. They had their own roofs to worry about. They came to mine first. And here's the last thing nobody tells you, the biggest one. Everybody warns you that you'll be lonely so far from everyone you know. Nobody tells you that you were already lonely, and that you'd been calling it normal for 30 years. Back home, I lived next to the same people for 20 years, and we waved. In the 2 years after Jean died, I could go a whole weekend without a single human being saying my name out loud. Here, 6 months in, I had a village. My neighbor brings me food for no reason but that she cooked too much and thought of me. When I had a fever, 3 different families sent somebody to check. And I talk to Susan more now than when I lived a 4-hour drive away, because now we actually make the time, every Sunday, and her little ones call me Lola on the screen, which is what the children here call their grandmother. People ask if I have regrets, and I've got exactly one. It's not that I came, it's that I waited. I want to reach back through time and grab that tired woman at 4 in the morning in that cafeteria kitchen and shake her and tell her the ocean doesn't check your resume. It doesn't care that you fed other people's children for 35 years. So if you're out there tonight with the numbers half worked out and the guilt sitting on your chest, I'm just one woman on a porch, but I'll tell you the thing nobody told me. You're allowed. You're actually allowed to go. And you're allowed to miss what you left, too. Both at once. Forever. Nobody tells you that either. And it's all right. It's going gold over the valley now, the mist coming back up the hills. In a little while, Maribel's husband is going to putter by on his tricycle and honk hello, and I'm going to sit here a while longer, grateful and gutted at the same time, in the life I almost talked myself out of. The cafeteria cook from Youngstown, up on the hill looking down at everything. I carried you here, I tell Jean. We finally got to our someday, and I promise you, whoever you are, you're allowed to go too.